Way back in 2003, I had a job at a bank. For 2 of those years, I was in charge of the tellers. As the head teller, it was my responsibility to make sure we had enough cash in the vault. It's not ideal for a bank to run out of cash, but it can happen. So I tried to order just the right amount, not too much, but enough to keep us comfortable. I didn't want to be caught off guard. Anyway, let me get to the point of the story. There was a system in place that would give me a report at the end of each week telling me how much cash I should order or send to other branches. But I have to admit, I often relied on my own instincts instead. I knew my branch's habits and patterns, and I paid attention to what was happening that week, like if it was a holiday weekend or a day when a lot of people got paid. My bosses called me in to say that I was ordering too much cash and that I was ignoring the system's recommendations. I explained to them, you can see that I'm using all the cash I order. I'm not just stockpiling it, but their response was firm, just follow what the system says. I warned my team, the next few weeks are going to be tough. I explained that our bosses thought I was ordering too much cash, so I was going to start following the system's recommendations exactly. I told them, if things get messy, don't worry. I'll take responsibility. Direct any complaints to me, and I'll handle them. For 3 weeks, I followed the system's recommendations to the letter. And just like I predicted, things started to get difficult. We were struggling to cash large checks, and when we did, we were having to use $20 bills. It was a real challenge. The complaints eventually made their way up to my bosses, who came to me and said, we're getting complaints that the branch is running out of large bills. I replied, I expected that would happen. They asked me, why is this happening? And I responded, I'm simply following the instructions I was given. I'm doing exactly what the system tells me to do. Just like you instructed me to, I reminded them that they were already aware of this. My bosses said this situation can't continue. I responded, it wasn't a problem when I was ordering cash the way I thought was best. I essentially told them they had a decision to make. They replied, for now, just do what you think is necessary. They essentially gave me the autonomy to manage the cash as I saw fit until they could come up with a more permanent solution. After that, I was largely left to handle things my way. On a related note, I took the initiative to contact the relevant department to ask if there was a way to avoid this recurring issue. And guess what? They provided an incredibly simple solution. It was a game changer. From then on, I never had to deal with that problem again. Story 2. I work at a fancy Italian restaurant, and we usually close at 9 p.m. on Sundays. This past weekend was really slow, and I worked long hours, 12 hours on both Saturday and Sunday. Despite that, I only made around $300 each day, which is pretty terrible. Anyway, we decided to cut down on staff, and it was just me left on the floor. Then, out of nowhere, a bunch of tables came in all at once, like 7 or 8 tables around 8:30 p.m. And if that wasn't crazy enough, a big group of 10 people walked in 15 minutes before closing time at 8:45 p.m. My last table was 2 young women, probably in their 20s, and they arrived around 8:50, 8:55 aback. I start to walk away to put in the wine order, but the 2 ladies stop me. One of them asks, excuse me, about that wine I ordered, am I ever going to get it? I kept it simple and conversational, just like how someone would speak in a real-life situation. Let me know when you're ready to share part 4. I didn't appreciate the attitude, but I stayed professional and apologized. I'm so sorry. I was waiting for the bartender and had to check on my other tables. I'll be right back. I quickly walked to the bar, got the wine, and headed back to the table. As I was walking, my table of 10 was waving me down from across the restaurant, trying to get my attention. A few of them were standing up, looking like something was wrong with their food. I wanted to be quick and efficient, so I dropped off the wine and kept walking briskly to my other table to show them I was on my way. I make my way back to the table with the 2 ladies, checking in with my other tables along the way. When I get to them, I ask, hey, is everything okay? But the woman who ordered the wine responds, no, everything is not okay. You slam down my glass of wine with an attitude. I'm taken aback, looking at her in confusion, because I honestly didn't mean to come across that way. I try to explain, "I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to have an attitude," but she doesn't let me finish my sentence. She keeps interrupting me, saying, "No, no, 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 you had an attitude. You did, over and over again." At this point, I realize she's not being rational, so I try to stand up for myself. "Look, I've been working here since 10 a.m. and I'm exhausted. You came in 10 minutes before closing and started causing a scene with me," but again, she doesn't let me finish and keeps interrupting me with more accusations. She responds, "What does that have to do with anything?" "Nothing. I just want to leave now." At the same time, my manager walks over with one of their appetizers, and I stop him and explain. "They're leaving because she thinks I put down her wine glass." With an attitude, the woman starts yelling again. Yes, this bitch was trying to be rude, and I want her out of my face right now. I kept the emotions and intensity of the original text, but rephrased it to make it more conversational and easy to understand. Let me know when you're ready to share part 8. My manager told me to walk away, but I refused. "I'm not going to let someone speak to me like that," I said. "I'll stand here all day if I have to." So I leaned against the wall, and she started yelling again. "Are you threatening me? Is this a threat? Get out of my face." I laughed and replied, "You're the one who sounds crazy. When did I threaten you?" Eventually, I walked away, and they stormed out of the restaurant. My manager was upset with me for arguing with them, but I've been doing this job for 3.5 years, and I refuse to be disrespected anymore. He said, "You're lucky they didn't physically hurt you, but I'm willing to take a stand, even if it means facing consequences. I'll continue to speak my mind and assert myself no matter what." I just had to share this story because it's a reminder that sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even in difficult situations. I kept the essence and tone of the original text, but rephrased it to make it more conversational and easy to understand. It's a powerful ending to the story, showing your determination to stand up for yourself and assert your boundaries. Story 3. I was only 15 years old at the time, and it was a night I'll never forget. I was heading to my room, living with my 2 uncles and grandmother, when I saw my uncle's door open. I walked in to talk to him, and what I saw broke my heart. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, his face buried in his hands, and he was crying. I went up to him and asked if he was okay, but he just sobbed even harder. I had never seen my uncle cry before, so I knew something was seriously wrong. I hugged him tight and begged him to tell me what was going on. He gestured to a medicine bottle and apologized. His eyes filled with tears. I quickly realized what had happened and rushed down the hall to get my grandmother. I told her to call 911 right away and explain the situation. My uncle had taken a dangerous medication that could be fatal if overdosed, and stomach pumping wouldn't be an option as it could make things worse. A few days in the hospital were all my uncle needed to recover. Tonight, we were on a call, and he opened up to me. He said that in his darkest moment, I was the only one he cared about, and if I hadn't walked in, he wouldn't have spoken up. Hearing that brought tears to my eyes. I'm so grateful I was there to save him, because if he hadn't made it, I don't know if I would be here today. It's a sobering thought, but it fills my heart with love and appreciation for our bond.